Welcome to Social Science, Standard 10, History, Unit 1, Outbreak of World War I and its Aftermath, Part 1, Introduction. 1914 is a turning point in world history. The political and social process that began in 1789 culminated in the First World War that broke out that year and decisively shaped the courses of the 20th century. Historians therefore call this as the long 19th century. This was the first industrial war that drew on the economic resources of the entire world and also affected large sections of the civilian population. The political map of the world was redrawn. Three major empires was shattered by the end of the war: Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Ottomans. The biggest outcome of the war was the Russian Revolution. It was a unique event as well as the first revolution of its kind in world history. For the first time, countries tried to bring about world peace through the League of Nations. Scrambled for colonies. Capitalist countries raced for markets. The aim of capitalistic industry was to produce more and more. The surplus wealth thus produced was used to build more factories, railways, steamships, and other such undertakings. Revolution in the means of communication and transportation in the later half of the 19th century facilitated the process of European expansion in Africa and other places. A striking feature of 19th century was that Europe emerged as the dominant power, while Asia and Africa were colonized and exploited. Within Europe, England had held a preeminent position as the world leader of capitalism. An ever-growing demand for markets and raw materials made the capitalist powers race around the world for expanding their empire for exploitation. Rise of monopoly capitalism. After 1870, the alliance of industry and finance seeking profits in markets for goods and capital, which was an essential characteristic of imperialism, became evident in the later half of the 19th century. The old ideas of free trade collapsed. There were trust in USA and cartels in Germany. Imperialism and its essential characteristics. Capitalism inevitably led to imperialism. According to Lenin, imperialism is the highest stage of capitalism. Besides, being a market for surplus goods, colonies served another purpose. Imperialism was not just about colonies. It became a total system, the logic of which was total militarization and total war. Rivalry of great powers. Europe. In 19th century, European powers had colonized many other countries. By 1880, most of the Asian countries had been colonized. Only Africa was left. The occupation, division, and colonization of Africa took place from 1881 to 1914. After 1870, England, France, Belgium, Italy, and Germany joined in the scramble for colonies. Clashes amongst great powers. Despite the lead industrial growth and the control of a vast empire, England was not satisfied. England was in competition with Germany and the United States, which were producing cheaper and manufactured goods, and thus capturing England's markets. Nation rival led to frequent clashes between these great powers in Asia and Africa and Europe. Asia. The rise of Japan. In Asia, Japan during this period imitating Western nations and became their equal in military respects. Though the outlook of the rulers still remained feudal, Japan took the Western education and machinery. With a modern army and navy, Japan had emerged as an advanced industrialized power. In 1894, she forced a war on China. The crushing defeat of China by Little Japan in Sino-Japanese War surprised the world. Despite the warning of the three great powers Russia, Germany, and France, Japan annexed the Liaotung Peninsula with Port Arthur. By this action, Japan proved that it was the strongest nation of the East Asia. Japan, however, in view of the pressure mounted by European powers, soon gave its claim over Port Arthur. Russia took advantage of this and sent a large army to Manchuria. Japan entered into an alliance with England in 1902 and demanded that Russia withdrew troops from Manchuria. Russia underestimated Japan. In 1904, the war began between the two countries. In this Russo-Japanese War, Japan defeated Russia and caught back Port Arthur. After this war, Japan entered the circle of great powers. Strong arm diplomacy of Japan. After 1905, Japan took control of Korean domestic and foreign policy. The assassination of the prominent Japanese diplomat provided the excuse in 1910 for Japan's annexation of Korea. The confusion in China following the downfall of the Manchu dynasty in 1912 provided Japan an opportunity for further expansion. Japan demanded the transfer of German rights in Shandong to Japan and recognition of Japanese hold over Manchuria. This strong arm diplomacy aroused the hostility of both China and the European powers. Colonization and its fallout. In 1876, barely 10% of Africa was under European rule. By 1900, practically the whole of Africa was colonized. Britain, France, and Belgium had divided the continent between them, leaving a few areas for Germany and Italy. Britain, France, Russia, and Germany also established spheres of influence in China. Japan took over Korea and Taiwan. France conquered Indochina. The US took Philippines from Spain. The Britain and Russia agreed to partition Iran. The first European attempt to carve out colonies in Africa resulted in bloody battles. The French had to fight a long and bitter war to conquer Algeria and Senegal. The British lost to the Zulus and to the Sudanese army. The Italian army suffered a devastating defeat at the hands of the Ethiopian army at Adowa. Thank you. We will continue part 2, the next class.